4th
Okay.
of March, Rabbi Levitt, Pele Yoetz.
Oh, okay. Oh, I did call Rabbi Yechiel. Okay, give him a heads up. Say there. Okay. So we're just going over this Tosfos again, and Tosfos, he had what's his Tosfos question over here? Tosfos' question is that he sees we have a machlokes over here between Rava and Rav Nachman about what's the din in regard to making a loan to a non-Jew for ribbis. Rav Nachman holds that it's asur. That's what the pasuk. That's how he understands the pasuk in Mishlei. It's absolutely asur, and presumably, it's asur. And Rava says no, it's not asur. It's not asur because and he says to him, well, what the pasuk of Lenachris Ashich is certainly you must have to hold that means that when you make a loan to a non-Jew, you're allowed to, and perhaps even it's a mitzvah to yes charge interest. So what do you do with that pasuk, Rav Nachman? So that's the question that we explained in the Gemara. Tosfos has a problem with that question. Tosfos says he doesn't understand what Rava is asking over here. Tosfos says in Tomer o my porich mihaikra. What is Rava's question to Rav Nachman from this pasuk of Lenachris Ashich? Hello asur el midrabanan gezerah shema yilmod mimasav kedamrin and besamuch. Tosfos says that we have to understand that what Rav Nachman means in the name of Rav Huna is that it's only us drabanan. The prohibition that Rav Nachman was talking about perforce must only be midrabanan, because that's what the Gemara says later on in this sugya over here. He didn't mean to say that it was an issa deraisa to lend interest, to lend a loan to a non-Jew and charge him interest. That's only by a Jew. But there was an issa drabanan. That's what Rav Nachman meant. And if so, Tosfos says, how do we understand Rava's question on Rav Nachman? Rava is saying, don't you see from this pasuk that Nachris Ashich that midaraisa it's mutter for a Jew to make a loan to a non-Jew and charge him ribis? According to Tosfos, Rav Nachman will say, Rava, of course I agree to that. What do you think? But Tosfos answers that no. If Rava is asking a question, he knows what he's talking about. He knows that he's got a question, and he's bringing it from this pasuk. So what is the question? Tosfos answers. Tosfos said, "Yesh loymar the haki porek." This is the question that Rava is asking on Rav Nachman. Mehai kra, from this pasuk in the Torah about Lenachris Ashich. Kevan de Amar Rachmana Lenachris Ashich, since the Torah says that you when you make a loan to a Jew, to a non-Jew, you charge him interest. Therefore, says Tosfos, the question that Rava was asking to Rav Nachman was Lo haya lehem lechachamim le'asor. Rava is saying, and this is where we left off yesterday, Rava is saying to Rav Nachman that he holds that the Chachamim would not have had the authority to make such an Issa Drabanan, in light of the fact that the Torah says that when you give a loan to a non-Jew, you charge him interest. So how can you, Rav Nachman, say, granted that you hold that there's no Issa Deraisa, but how can you even hold that it's a rabbinic injunction to not allow a Jew to charge interest? So we had a difficulty understanding this when we originally learned it, but I did a little bit of research, and I found a fascinating Birkas Avram, who quotes one of the great poskim in the Shulchan Aruch, that writes the commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, the Turi Zahav, and he explains that there is a following. This is the reason why Rav is asking his question. We know that
we lost your voice for a second there. There is a what?
There's a concept. There is a concept, which not really not just a concept. It's it's a klal in the Torah. It's a klal in the Torah, says the Taz, that, in other words, there's rules and regulations for when and where the Chazal have the authority to impose rabbinic injunctions in light of what the Torah says. Now, what are the rules and regulations? So the Taz says as follows. I'll read you the words. Ein koyak biyad chachamim le'asur davar shepirsha Torah b'feirush leheter. There is no power to make a rabbinic prohibition on a matter which the Torah permitted openly and explicitly as being totally permissible. Ve'ein lehem lahachmir, ela b'makom she'ein bo lo iser v'lo heter mifurash. They should not make any stringency over and above what the Torah says, except in a place where the Torah did not state its view, not for prohibition nor for heter, for what's the opposite of prohibition? Permission. Masha ein kain, which is not the case, u'makom sheyesh heter mefurash min hakra, which is not the case where the Torah, he repeats himself again, which is not the case where the Torah, in its words, in a pasuk, stated a explicit permission. So in other words, because in fact, one of the Rishonim asked on Tosas over here, what does Tosas mean that to explain Rava like this? Rava is saying that the Chachamim should not have done that. Well, how could Rava question the propriety of what Chazal said? That's a very difficult thing to accept, that's what he's saying over here. Because when the Chachamim make a takana, it's not just one Chacham that says we should make this takana. There's a consensus of the Gedolei Chachamim of that generation that this is what needs to be done, and we never heard really of in the Gemara that the Gemara had challenged a rabbinic injunction that we know has been promulgated by saying that the Chachamim never had the authority to make such a rabbinic injunction. They're not aware of any such situation. But over here, perhaps I'm just not aware of all the cases that there are in Shas. That could be, but over here we have Tosfos explaining a very novel idea, really, that he understands that Rava is saying that the Chachamim did not have the authority over here to make this injunction, and presumably what we mean to say over here, what Rava would mean to say over here, according to what Tosfos is saying, is that in fact the Chachamim never did such a thing. So in other words, they're arguing about whether the Chachamim made such an injunction. And that there is such a thing. There is such a thing, and we even saw it sometime back. Remember when we heard about Takanas Usha? We were talking about whether Usha made a Takana, and there was those that said, oh, there's no Takanas Usha. Oh, there is Takanas Usha. There's no Takanas Usha. What are they talking about? Did Usha make a Takana or not? So it wasn't an argument about his history that they reported it on the nightly news that the Chachamim and Usha, they made a takana. So nobody can argue about it, because that's what Walter Cronkite said over there. Obviously, yes. If he said it, it must got to be true. They were not arguing about that. They were arguing that they don't know. It was a different generation. It was a different generation. And they were arguing apparently about whether the Takanas Usha, whether they actually made it or not, in regard to it wasn't just simply a question of did they do it or did they not do it, a historical fact or not a historical fact. And here Tosfos seems to be saying, according to Rava is saying they never did such a thing. Obviously never did such a thing, says Rava, because they did not have the power to do it. So they're arguing about whether the Chachamim have a power to do such a thing. That's what Rava's point is. And so here, where do we see this? Because, for example, when you come to the prohibition of blowing shofar on Rosh Hashanah when it comes out on Shabbos, so this is accepted that the Chachamim told us not to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos. So where did the Chachamim get to take away a mitzvah that the Torah says to blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah? So according to the Taz, we have a very good answer. We have a very good answer. What's the answer? The Torah doesn't state explicitly one way or another what the din is if the Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos. Which is Rosh Hashanah, you should blow the shofar. So it doesn't say that even if it comes out on Shabbos, we want you to blow the shofar. It doesn't say, there's no such pasuk that says that explicitly. And so since there's no pasuk that says that explicitly, so the Chachamim have a right, they have the power to say that if it comes out on Shabbos, we don't want that anybody should, it'll be usher to take a shofar and blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah when it comes out on Shabbos. But in this case over here, it says l'nachri sashich. L'nachri sashich. It says that when you make a loan to a non-Jew, you're perfectly allowed to charge him interest. You can charge him interest. So Rava is saying, when we have a pasuk which explicitly, without any qualifications, says that you can charge interest to a non-Jew when you give him a loan, he's claiming that the Chachamim would not have the right to make a prohibition against it. So he would be disagreeing with the prohibition, with the fact that the Chachamim made a prohibition. Not that he's arguing with the Chachamim, in other words, who made a prohibition and saying, I don't think that they had the power to do that. He's saying that they never did such a thing. He's saying they never did such a thing. There is no such thing. It can't be that they did such a thing, because they know as well as I do that you can't do such a thing. That's all. Okay. Now Tosfos goes on and he says, 1 second though. What about the pasuk in Mishlei? See, Tosfos leaves no stone unturned over here in this equation. We have to work out all the pieces of the puzzle. This is what Tosfos. This is why we have a Tosfos. All the pieces of the puzzle have to fit. So now there's an issue over here with the pasuk in Mishlei. What's the issue with the pasuk in Mishlei? And this, that we have a pasuk in Shlomo, meaning in Mishlei. Shlomo is the author of Mishlei. Afogav delo asa ella mishum gezerah. Even though we are saying at this point that Rav Nachman, who holds to a non-Jew with ribis, is merely a rabbinic injunction. It is not a Torah violation. So if so, though, how could it be that we have a pasuk in Mishlei from Shlomo HaMelech who that says that you can't lend to a non-Jew with ribis? The pasuk is talking about even a non-Jew. So presumably the point would be over here. What's the question that Tosfos is asking? Presumably, if Rav Huna is saying that the pasuk in Mishlei is referring to ribis charged to a non-Jew, Shlomo Melech, he's talking about what the Torah says. No, he's not talking about a rabbinic injunction. Shlomo Melech is in the first base of Mikdash. He's the one that built the first base of Mikdash. He's long before the era of Chazal, who made rabbinic injunctions. When we think about rabbinic injunctions, we think about Chazal. We think about the time of the Mishnah, the time of the Gemara, Rabbeinu HaKodesh, and the generations after that. But this goes back to Shlomo, the pasuk in Mishlei, Shlomo Melech. He's certainly talking about Deraisa, no? So how can we maintain that Rav Huna regards it as a mere rabbinic prohibition? On that, Tosfos answers that Efsher de Shlomo Gozar. maybe what Rav Huna means, and what I guess the Gemara means, when it says it's a mere rabbinic injunction, is it means that it doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that there's a prohibition like this, and it's also not something that was prohibited in the time of the Gemara, in the time of the Mishnah, but it goes back, way back. It goes all the way back to Shlomo Melech himself. He made the Gezerah. He's the one that made the Gezerah, just like we know he did make other Gezerahs. He made a Gezerah of the Tilas Yadayim, and he made this Gezerah too, also not to not to lend to a non-Jew for ribbis. Okay. Alternatively, says Tosfos, inami, we could say that Shlomo diber beribis deraisa. Shlomo is talking about ribis deraisa. Urabonan hu dasmohu milsra day. Okay. Shlomo is talking about ribis deraisa in the pasuk, as he's decrying the practice of lending for ribis. He's talking about ribis deraisa. Urabanan hu de'asmahu milsayu akra. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the Rabbanan, when they are talking in our Gemara about a rabbinic injunction, they are saying that we're saying as follows. We're saying as follows. I believe that the way to understand these words is that Shlomo was talking about ribis deraisa to a Jew, because that's the only issur deraisa that there is in regard to ribis. There's no issur deraisa in regard to a non-Jew. But the Chachamim, when they instituted their rabbinic prohibition, one second. Not sure whether this is going to work. Okay, you'll see if you can poke a hole in what I'm saying over here. Let's try this so far. Shlomo is only talking about ribis deraisa, and we're defining what that means. It's only talking about ribis to a Jew, because we're saying all along that there's no ribis to a non-Jew. Now, the Rabbanan came along, and they are, yes, making a rabbinic prohibition on a non-Jew to give it, to take a loan for ribis, to give a loan for ribis, to be the lender and charge the non-Jew ribis. And where's their support from? Where do they adduce their support? From the pasuk in Shlomo, from the pasuk in Mishlei. That's, you see that the Torah doesn't approve of ribis. Shlomo's talking about what the Torah has to say, and he says somebody who does ribis and he charges to a Jew ribis is nishtazeh gutazach. That's not a good thing that he did over there. And the Rabbanan are hearing the message and saying to themselves, well, ribis is not a good thing. So you see that ribis is not a good thing. Oh, we have authority from the Torah, from the pasuk of Mishlei, to make a rabbinic injunction that we don't want people to lend ribis to a non-Jew either. And we have our reasons. We have a very good reason. Shelo yilmud mimasehem. And so therefore we do in fact have authority to do so. That will be that will be what Rav Huna will answer to Rava's challenge, that they had no authority to make such a rabbinic injunction like that. Okay.
So let me ask a question, please.
Yeah.
When Shlomo HaMelech makes a statement in Mishlei, is that Torah? Or is that a rabbinic statement? Is he considered to be a rabbi making a decree, or is he considered to be an author of the Torah?
He's talking about Ribbis Deraisa. He's referring to Ribbis Deraisa. So what that means is that he is referring to the prohibition that the Torah says to lend a Jew with ribbis.
So I'm confused. The rabbis are relying on a statement by Shlomo about ribbis deraisa, which says you can't charge ribbis to a Jew in order to make a gezerah that you can't charge ribbis to a non-Jew.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Right.
So we're referring to any kind of ribbis. We're not referring specifically to ribbis for the intention of aggrandizement. We're not referring specifically that we want to charge in order to make a profit. If you charge,
excellent. Sorry, continue. I'm very excited by what you have to say.
Oh, sorry. So that if you've got a business that charges a reasonable interest, an acceptable interest, because this is your business, and you close at 5 o'clock, you open at 4 and close at 5 or something, and you don't go out of your way to charge. You might even give somebody let somebody off the hook or something like that. It's clear you're clearly not out to get money. So are we talking about that as well as clearly getting out to get money, or just clearly getting out to get money, or just clearly getting out to get helping? What kind of?
In the pasuk in Shlomo. Shlomo's pasuk. That's what you're asking about, Roy?
Asking in
general.
I'm talking about what do we
okay.
What are we talking about?
Okay, I think that I really like your comments. I didn't think of this, and I think this might be a way to add a little bit more understanding to what Tosfos is saying over here. And let me explain it as follows. The Torah says, do not charge interest to a fellow Jew. What does the Torah mean over there? Under no circumstance may you charge any amount of interest, even one time, to a Jew. It's a Torah violation. Okay? Along comes Shlomo HaMelech, and Shlomo HaMelech, what's he saying over here? Shlomo, what are you saying? You're saying that somebody who charges interest, he's not going to see the fruits of his ill-gotten gains over here, what the Torah says you're not allowed to do. That's what we need a pasuk in Mishlei for, to tell us that you're not going to profit by what the Torah says not to do. Not going to profit. You don't profit by averas. That's what Shlomo Melech is coming to tell us. Oh, here comes Rabbi Yechiel. Good morning, Rabbi Yechiel. I'm sorry I didn't call you up. We're having a class right now. You can come in. We have a new link though, but my wife sent you a link. It was a couple days ago, maybe 3 days ago now. Maybe Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni. There was a link that was sent out to everybody in the class. A new link to get into the class. Right. You have maybe ask your wife to go take a look in your inbox from Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember when it was when we did a new link. We sent everybody a new link. And if it doesn't work, I'll be in touch with you after the class, so that to make sure that you got the right link. Okay. Yeah, I saw that you called me the other day. Thanks for your phone call. I'll call you up after the class, and I hope you're able to get in. We still have 15 minutes. On what's on Monday? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So based upon what you're saying, Roy, we could say that what Shlomo Melech is talking about is, like it says in the pasuk, it says Hamar behono, someone who is amassing his hon. His hon is his fortune. He's not just making a loan over here with interest, a loan over there with interest. He's got a whole empire over here, and he's amassing sums of wealth through the prohibition of interest. So Shlomo is decrying a specific type of interest, and that's being charged to amass wealth, which is particularly problematic. And one might think to say that, oh, well, how could it be a guy is going to make so much wealth? And how, if Shlomo's saying, you know what? Even in that case, you'll never see it. You'll never see it. Ask this guy, does he believe Shlomo Melech?
No.
You believe Shlomo Melech?
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't believe Shlomo Melech. So Shlomo Melech now is telling you a chiddush. So now the Rabbanan came along, and perhaps the Rabbanan are saying that even though the Torah says that you are totally allowed to charge interest to a non-Jew, right? You're allowed to charge an interest, but we don't want anybody amassing wealth by charging interest to a non-Jew. We don't want a business like that. You're not allowed to do that. That's what the Rabbanan wanted to do. In other words, they saw really they don't want anybody to make a loan to a non-Jew. Really, that's what they want. That's what because we see that clearly from the reasoning behind their gezerah. The reasoning behind the gezerah is Shema Yilmod Mimasehem. They don't want a Jew to go into the business world of the non-Jew. They don't want that. So, but what can they do? The Torah says that a Jew has got to it's not forbidden, and the Torah permits it specifically. But what the Rabbanan could do is they could rely on Shlomo Melech and say that we see from Shlomo Melech, who is expressing the view of the Torah. That's what we could say to answer Lou's question. Shlomo Melech is undoubtedly telling us the view of the Torah, which is not clearly enunciated in the Torah, and saying that in such a circumstance, that would be absolutely nicht gut, not a good thing. And therefore the Rabbanan came along and assered it. So what are they assering? They're assering a Jew charging ribbis to a goy in a situation where he's simply amassing wealth, not for his needs of parnasa.
Mhm.
And in fact, that is exactly, if we go to the Gemara on 71a, we see that in fact that is exactly what Rav Chia, great Rav Huna, says that our Mishnah, which says that you're allowed to charge interest to a non-Jew, that's what it refers to. Kedei Chayav.
Where is that?
Okay,
Where?
we have a Mishnah. We have a Mishnah at the top of the page
Oh,
on 70b.
70b.
Yeah,
I
top
see
of the
that.
page, and it
Yeah.
says in the third line of that page, third line of the Mishnah,
Mm.
"Lovin mehen v'malvin osan beribis." You can loan to them. You can take a loan for them with ribis. Who are we talking about? We're talking about the non-Jew. That's the subject of this Mishnah over here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that question, this Mishnah was brought to bear on Rav Nachman. This is the next question that Rava asks Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, how can you maintain that the Torah how can you even maintain that it's a rabbinic prohibition to charge interest to a non-Jew? We have a Mishnah that says it's permissible to make a loan to a non-Jew for ribis. What? The Mishnah is only talking deraisa? It's obviously talking even derabanan. It's permissible to do deraisa and derabanan. It's totally permissible. That's Rava's question on Rav Nachman. This question appears 3 lines from the bottom of the page. Esvei. 3 lines from the bottom of the page on 70b, we have an esvei. We have a kasha on Rav Nachman from our Mishnah at the top of the page. It says explicitly that we may both borrow and lend a loan to a non-Jew for ribis. So how can you, Rav Nachman, maintain that it is forbidden in any way, shape, or form? Okay, it says esvei, lovin mehen b'malvin osam, beribis, became beger toshav. So we see from the not from the pasuk, but from the Mishnah, we see from the Mishnah that it's totally permissible to loan to a non-Jew ribis. And this Mishnah is talking both deraisa and derabanan. It's saying that it's mutter. Oh, here he's calling me again. Just a second, sorry. Yes, Rabbi Chio. Okay, I'm not sure what, I don't know how to send you the link right now in the middle of the class.
I can do it.
Oh, Luke can do it. Okay. You're going to get the link right now. Lou is going to send you the link. Okay, so look for the link in your inbox. There'll be a link, and you'll just click over there.
And save the link.
And save it. How do you save the link, by the way?
Copy it.
Oh, you have to copy it.
Yeah, and put it into a document.
Copy it and put it into a document. Okay.
If you can do that, I don't know.
I can't do that, but I could try to figure out how to do it.
His wife might be able to.
Yeah, I'm sure his wife knows. Okay.
Here, I sent it.
Okay. Thank you, Lou. Tiskala mitzvahs.
You can also just save it in your email by filing the email somewhere rather than deleting it.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Or you can just leave the email in your inbox. Just don't delete it. And then you can bring it up at any time and click on it.
Okay. Or also they can click Lou Fritkus, all the emails that they've gotten.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, as long as they don't delete it.
As long as they don't delete it, yeah. Oh, here they go. Here they is. Great. Okay. Okay, very good. So this was the question. Good morning. Shalom Aleichem.
Morning. Thanks for
Good morning, Yechiel, again.
You're welcome.
There we go. Okay, wonderful to see you. Baruch Hashem. So now we can understand the answer that the son of Rav Huna gives. Here we have the son answering for his father. I think it's the Rav Huna that we're talking about. It says Amar Rav Chia Berei the Rav Huna. Rav Chia said in the name of Rav Huna. I'm assuming that it's referring to the Rav Huna who's the one who said the din that it's usher to make a loan to a non-Jew for ribbis. He didn't mean to say that it was usher b'deraisa, no. And also when it comes to D'Rabbanan, he did say that it was. He maintains that it's usher, but under what circumstances does he say that it's usher? So the Gemara says these are the last words. These are the last 3 words of this page. And so when we read these words, we go on to the next page. Amar Rav Chia, Bereid Rav Huna. Rav Chia said in the name of his father, Rav Huna. I mean,
Yeah, Rav Huna.
It's not saying that he's saying in the name of his father. He's saying it, but he is the son of his father, right?
Right.
He's saying lo nitztracha ella. Turn the page. B'kdei chayav. We do not regard this Mishnah here when it says that it's usher, or rather that when the Mishnah says that it's mutter, the Mishnah is only matering kedei chayav. It's only permitting the lending of a loan to a non-Jew for interest if it's kedei chayav, if the Jew needs it for his livelihood. Not that as opposed to he's amassing wealth, like the pasuk in Shlomo is talking about. So that the Rabbanan felt that they had the power to do, according to Rav Huna. And that's what Tosfos is explaining us. And Roy opened this understanding up to us.
Hooray for Roy!
With his enlightening comments.
Thank you, everybody. I am thrilled.
Will. Page number of is a lot. Okay.
Roy, you don't have any idea what the Malachim and Shemayim are going crazy. They're all over the place.
I'm
They're
sure.
saying, "Wow, we have achieved an understanding of the Tosfos here in Yerushalayim."
That's nice. Thank you.
Well,
Everybody,
right.
everybody's contributing.
So are we saying that what Shlomo HaMelech is doing in Mishlei is he is clarifying what the Torah means? When the Torah says you can lend with interest to a non-Jew, he's saying, yeah, that's true, you can. However, if you do it in the following way, it's not proper.
Right.
Perfect.
Excellent. Also, excellent. Right. Right.
So that's how we consider it to be derisa.
Well, yeah, it's see, because right. Okay. Right. Because yeah.
So when we look at Tosfos,
Yeah.
and it says Mishum Gezerah Efshar de Shlomo Gazar, and then it says Inami, and you translated Inami as alternatively. So does that mean that we're rejecting the idea that it's a Gezerah and then going on to say what I just explained?
Okay, so the first comment that Tosfos said, how do we reconcile when Tosfos said, when Tosfos says Hadadarish le mikra de Shlomo afugav de loy asar ela mishum gezera efshar de Shlomo gazar. It's possible to say that Shlomo himself was the one who made a gezerah, and that's what he is referring to. He's referring to his gezerah in Mishlei, and then if that would be referring to a that would be referring to Rabbanim Gezerah Shema Yilmod Mimasav. Can I mean Masamach? The Darish Lemi Kra the Shlomo Afagav the Lo Asa Elimishum Gezerah Efsha the Shlomo Gazar. In other words, one second. We just let's back up and see where we're coming from over here with this question that Tosfos is asking over here. Each phrase that Tosfos says over here is you got to do a whole keep all the steps in order over here. It's quite involved over here. Tosfos Tosfos has just answered his question. In other words, he explained what was the intention of Rava in asking his question on Rav Nachman from a pasuk in the Chumash, L'nachmi Sashich. He meant to say that since we see that the Torah explicitly permits the lending of ribbis, so how do you say that the Rabbanan came along and assered something that the Torah explicitly permits? There's no such thing. And so he answered over there that in other words, that was Rava's question. And now, according to that, we have a pasuk in Mishlei, the Darishlei Mikra the Shlomo. Presumably, Shlomo Melech was talking about Rivas Deraisa that the Torah prohibits, and according to that, Rav Nachman, who is saying that the pasuk in Shlomo is referring to even Rivas taken from a non-Jew, that would come out that it's a Torah violation. That Rav Nachman holds it's a Torah violation. Not like we've been saying all along that really all Rav Nachman holds it's a rabbinic prohibition, but not a Torah violation. But if so, then what do we say about the pasuk in Shlomo? Shlomo's talking deraisa. On that, the first answer that Tosfos gives is that no, Shlomo is talking about his own gezerah, that he made a gezerah not to lend to non-Jews for ribbis, not to amass wealth from non-Jews from ribbis. That was the first answer. The second answer is, it's a little bit different. We're not saying that Shlomo HaMelech made any gezerah. No, he made no gezerah. Shlomo was talking about ribbis deraisa. He was talking about the ribbis that the Torah assers, and in particular, he was talking about a person who amasses wealth as a result of charging ribbis. And on that, the Rabbanan, the Chazal, the time of the Mishnah, the time of the Gemara, made a rabbinic prohibition from charging interest even to a non-Jew, if it's not kedei chayav. If it's not kedei chayav. Okay, so now what was your question again? Did I answer it? And if I didn't answer it, what was the question again? You probably forgot it too.
No, I remember the question, but I'm just looking at the clock. It's 11:37.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I shouldn't embark upon a new challenge at this time.
Okay, so you'll have to write down the question, and
Okay.
we will continue with Be'ezus Hashem next week.
Emir Hashem, yeah.
Thank you very much. I won't see you on Sunday, I don't think. I'm not too sure. We'll see what happens.
Oi, okay. Well, very good.
Thank you very much.
We'll
Have a
have to
good
remember what
Shabbos.
we do on Sunday and explain it to Roy
Oh,
on Monday.
okay.
Okay. But in any case, have a good Shabbos, everybody, and Chodesh Tov.
Amen.
Chodesh Tov.
Chodesh Tov u'Mevorach.
Simcha.
Should be a month of Geula. Bezrat
Amen.
Hashem.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
What's the page number of Papa?
We're in Baba Metzia. We're just on the end of Ayin, the end of 70, the beginning of 71. And this is not the Gemara shir. This is the Pele Yoetz shir. The first shir that we have each day.
Yeah, the subject is lending to a non-Jew for interest. So we go to the sources in order to find out what is the correct perspective on this. Okay, so everybody, all the best. Yashikoyach.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat shalom.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, Rebbe Theo.